I'm also main decking Pithing Needle. I think that this just is a main deck Pithing Needle format that we're living in. But I also think Remand is really good against the Valky deck. All of their threats are 3 or more mana. Remanding Tibalt itself is a really good exchange for you because Tibalt in the hand is not very good for them. And so you're kind of getting a 2-for-1 there. I'm also choosing to play Nyx instead of Deafening Silence in this deck. I've changed my opinion on the two just because of how much bounce effects that the specifically the blue versions of the Tibalt deck are playing. I think that Deafening Silence is worse now. I think they're adapting for it, so I'd rather be able to just counter the Valky or the Tibalt's Trickery rather than rely on the lock piece. And Nyx is the only 1 mana. Nyx is the only 1 mana counterspell that counters both Tibalt's Trickery and Nyx. There's also Silence you could consider, but actually counting the Tibalts and putting it in the graveyard I think is pretty relevant because they sometimes run out of Tibalts. It also counters Force of Negation, which is pretty nice. But you could play Silence and then jam Teferi is some. So I think that there is some discussion there between playing Nyx and playing just the card Silence. But I think Deafening Silence is just like a bit worse in these counterspell decks than I was thinking yesterday. And also, it's kind of cool to play Nyx, right? Yeah, Failure to Comply is kind of the card I'm talking about. I mean, they also play Borrower, they also play Teferi, but they have a lot of answers to Deafening Silence. You know what I mean? But you think Nyx is way too narrow? Maybe. I mean, it's not like we're main decking the card. Sideboard cards, I think, can afford to be narrow. I think I'm going to keep this. My opponent's revealed Lurrus, so let's put back, I think, basic Plains. Hammer time, hell yeah. Not going to force the Steel Shaper's Gift. Yeah, Nyx probably could have been 0 mana, actually, and would have been really interesting at 0 mana now that I think about it. Is this a Nyx matchup? Not to pick too many bits here, but I feel like you just said in the past that you don't like it, sideboard cards are narrow. Yeah, I've said that in the past. We're not playing a normal modern format, but I see what you're saying, but we're also just not really playing a normal modern format. So like sideboard cards can afford to be narrow if there's a deck like you're really trying to target. Like that's certainly not a rule I have that sideboard cards can't be narrow. Maybe needing Fire Ice. But like we're not playing a normal modern format right now. The Valky deck is warping, and you need to be like very heavily metagamed for it, or just play it. You know what I mean? But then Nyx would counter other Nyx. Yeah, I mean I think that'd be fine. Yeah, drawing double Springleaf Drum is pretty tough for them. Opponent's hand is Hammer Mystery card. Spending 3 mana to potentially put Lurrus into their hand. That's what's happening. We can remand that next turn if we want. These are leagues. I guess, but like you're not wrong. You're not wrong that these are leagues, and that the metagame is going to be different than the challenges, but I also just don't really mind still metagaming heavily. I still just don't think it changes the fact that if you are not geared to beat Tibalt, you're not going to beat it. You know what I mean? Even though like there's going to be fewer Tibalts in the leagues than in the challenges, if you're not heavily metagamed to beat Tibalt, you're going to lose to it when you do play against it. Nice list, no room for castles. I have 2 mana bases with this deck that I play. I flip flop between the two. There's this mana base that plays Mystic Sanctuary, and then I often play a mana base that plays castles and like Mystic Gates, and that's like usually when I'm a little more afraid of Boil, or if I'm trying to include like more white cards. Yeah, I probably just want to Archmage's Charm to counter the Luris. Yeah, I will definitely say that like this current Modern metagame makes me very thankful for how good Modern's been for like the last, like since the Astrolabe ban. It just hasn't been this bad, and it used to feel like it got like this every few months, and it lasted forever. Yeah, I guess Nyx being 0 mana is maybe a bit more problematic for older formats. I'm not going to Path the Giver. If I draw land, we can just equip Sword and attack. Might just bounce the Giver of Runes here. Might hold up the ability to put in Sword of Fire and Ice. Getting Teferi down is pretty good, though. And we can also draw a land. The new Valky deck is like 1300 ticks, not everybody can play it. I get it, that's definitely a factor. But if a deck is the best deck in the format, people are going to play it, you know? Like, it's not, it's, I feel like that factor is usually like a little overstated, how impactful it is. I do think it's not a good thing that it costs that much. I need to Path the Giver, I suppose. And it's still Hammer mystery card. We have Force for the Hammer, which is nice. Okay, we can needle either Inkmoth Nexus or Giver of Runes now. I think I'm gonna needle the Giver of Runes so it can't, so I can start chewing them up with my Sword of Fire and Ice. Inkmoth I can steal Giver. I don't have an Archmage Charm in my hand. I have Mystic Sanctuary in my deck, but also not in my hand. And the Giver can protect from my Stoneforge Mystic starting this turn, which is a problem, but not a problem if I name the Stoneforge, the Giver of Runes. Surprised that they're not casting the Shadow Spear. So they've got chump blockers, but they have to, you know, chump block this every turn, basically. Oh, they attacked me? Interesting. Wasn't really expecting that. So we could Mystic Sanctuary here. I think I'm going to equip instead. And then maybe I'll also play Teferi and bounce something with double Force up. Maybe I'll hold up Hardcast Force and Pitch Force. Probably did better. Sanctuary back, either Charm or Path. Probably Path. Yeah, Bouncing Needle is kind of interesting. It's a good point. Oh, this is of course why they didn't cast the spell. I'm definitely forcing this. And his Hammer mystery card. We can force Sigarda's Aid, but if their card is the guy that lets them equip, we're kind of in trouble. And they kill my Teferi, which is fine. Why Sharkblade? Isn't Blue Eye Control just strictly better? It is, I'm just dumb for playing this. Blue Eye Control is strictly better. You said it yourself, you know. I don't think so. I think that there's give and take to both right now. But like just the phrase strictly better is I don't feel like very helpful when evaluating the two at the moment. I kind of want to path the Stoneforge Mystic so they can't put in the hammer. I played Blue-White Control yesterday. Did feel like a good deck at the moment. And I think Sharkblade also has a lot of play to it. I think I've got a good list. I don't think it's clear that Control is better than Sharkblade at the moment. So we can attack, make them chump block, and then pick up Needle with Teferi, which is another. This is also like one of the best main deck Needle decks. I don't think I talked about that yet. But being able to pick up Needle and replay it, it's pretty good. I wonder how Hammer Time is against the Trickery deck, or the Tibalt deck. Either one. It's probably okay. I think I'm just going to cast the Batterskull here. Maybe Jace is better. Probably don't need to overthink it too much. Yeah, I actually think Bouncing Midnight is kind of fine there, but Brainstorm is probably better. I really don't hate Bouncing the Midnight, but I think all roads probably lead to Rome. Batterskull, Jace Bounce, Jace Brainstorm. Doesn't really feel like any of the lines are that bad. Alright, so we get to again 3 copies of Antonice, the 3rd copy of Pithing Needle. Although maybe 3 needles is too many. I could see that being the case, and we also don't have too many bad cards. Like Remand's not that good. We could Tails in the Sigarda's Aid trigger. Tails in the Stoneforge trigger. I'll bring in the 3rd needle. Needle's pretty good, I think. Name's Nexus, Stoneforge Mystic. The equipment, Mishra's Bauble is not even the worst name if you're afraid of Luris. Yeah, I honestly don't even feel like 1 copy of Nyx is completely unreasonable, but probably not on the draw. What is Needle for main deck? There is a deck that's cascading into a 7-mana Planeswalker on turns, 1 through 3, and we're trying to name that Planeswalker with Pithing Needle. This hand's kind of close. Pathing early is pretty bad. I may have kept this if that card was on thin ice. This hand's also not very good, but probably have to keep on 6. The sack bobble targeting me. If only I had my Nyxes in my hand. Definitely gonna have to draw well, but we also, are up a game, of course. But we are living in a main deck Pithing Needle format. I mean, Needle is also not dead in almost any matchup, is kind of the nice thing, right? It's not like there's never a card to name. What are my thoughts on demolishing power creep by changing the playset limit from 4 to 3 in constructed formats? I'm not a fan. Not a fan of that. I'm a fan of designing cards well and having balanced formats. Needle does not stop this Uro Escape, no. It's not an activated ability, it's a casting cost. Yeah, the Planeswalker's not Valky. The problem is if you call it the Tibalt deck, then people will think it's Tibalt's Trickery. So I think that's why people have been calling it the Valky deck, but I agree that it's confusing. Do I think Bant Ephemerate is still well placed? The problem is Skyclave Apparition doesn't seem all that good to me right now. I mean, it's not bad. But it's the deck is probably is probably okay, but The card Skyclave Apparition has gotten a lot worse recently because of the Tibalt deck, of course. Yeah, I played blue-white control yesterday. Felt pretty good. I probably changed my sideboard a bit though. Now you're getting hammered here. They probably should activate Stoneforge Mystic here, yeah. What do I think of the blue-white Days Undoing running around Legacy being played in Modern? The problem with that is, you know, there's a lot more like just lightning bolts to lightning bolt your Narset. You know what I mean? Narset is much more fragile in Modern compared to Legacy, and you don't also have Hull Breacher, which is the better of the two, I think, because getting that mana is such a big deal. Like, no Force of Will is also a big deal. People have tried it, and I just don't think it's ever really been very good. And if we draw like any way to draw a card here, like any like Teferi, Time Raveler, Archmage's Charm is actually just nuts here. But we flooded out a bit on the mulligan. I might play like one copy of Remand on the play over the third Needle. I think that's okay. Like a Shark Typhoon and the Mystic Sanctuary Path would have been fine. Teferi, Time Raveler would have been good. Lots of good draws there. I'm gonna keep this. I have a feeling that Tron might be good against 4-color Valky Poop. I do not think that it is. I could be wrong. But I kind of just don't think so. I don't like they get to play Force of Negation, which is like really good against Tron, and play like turn 2 Valky on the play. It just seems like so hard for Tron to come back from that. I think you always force Sigarda's Aid, or you should try to force Sigarda's Aid. Because they just have so many hammers. What's the reason they didn't path Thopter? They had Giver of Runes in play, and Giver of Runes would give protection from the Path to Exile. So we had to path the Giver. Alright, so Steel Shaper's Gift for Colossus Hammer. Let's pass. Second Sigarda's Aid stinks. Getting a little bit of a bluff there with the pause. Yeah, Espers is definitely a color combination I've been considering. So we're dead if they have a land. I mean, we're dead either way, but I don't think my opponent's going to go for it into open mana by tapping their Giver. I feel like they'll probably... I mean, maybe they just can't wait if I am showing them this. Okay, yeah, they're a little too scared here. Well, they do get to equip. No, they don't have. Oh, they don't have Metalcraft, but they have the Sigarda's Aid, of course. Okay, so we can't Mystic Sanctuary back Force of Negation here, but any removal spell we draw is going to be pretty good. We have 4 Paths, 3 Anthonize, 4 Teferi, 2 Cryptic Commands, 2 Jace the Mind Sculptors. Shark Typhoon is maybe an okay draw. Archmage's Charm is fine. Yeah, lots of good draws here. That was one of them. It's on my wish list. On my wish list. So if they have another hammer in their hand, we're in bad shape, but they've already used 2. And they also can't flash in. They can't flash in the hammer to kill me at instant speed. So how this works is they attack and then they flash in hammer, equip it to the Nexus, and then it doesn't have flying, but then it still deals damage to me. But what they can do is they can equip a hammer, and then if they can equip hammer to this, then they can activate Ink Possibility again and then give it flying again, even though the Colossus hammer has it lose flying, which is definitely a weird interaction. So we're dead to a 3rd hammer, and we're dead to this Pure Steel Paladin that we already knew about, I guess. Not that we really had another line. We'll just make sure that they understand how this works. Is it better to bounce hammer than kill Paladin? Not against the Sigarda Zeta, I don't think. Like they don't know how it works. They don't know how it works. Awesome. It's pretty poggers. Would not expect to win this this way in a PTQ. Opponent's not dumb. They just don't know like this kind of like narrow rules interaction. No need to be rude. They just have to learn at some point. No Hammer Time player is born knowing how that works. I'd say very few people probably figure it out on their own. I don't think I would have. Am I going to tell them after the game? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like it's a bit rude. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it's good to do that, but this kind of feels like I'm dunking on them, you know what I mean? Yeah. So Colossus Hammer makes the creature lose flying, but if you activate Inkmoth Nexus again, it says Inkmoth Nexus gains flying, and so then it gets flying afterwards. That's how it works, so all you guys know. I also would probably play 4 Pyres. I just love Pyre. I like the Wayward Servants. Yeah, how are you getting Broodmoth? Are you just hoping to draw it? Yeah, Broodmoth going infinite with Messenger is cool. But you can't Pyre Broodmoth into, or Messenger into Broodmoth, which is the problem. Oh, Nantuko Husk is an insect. I see. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I might play 2 Nantuko Husk, 1 Broodmoth. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's it. That's what I was missing. This looks cool. Yeah, I'd be playing 4 Sculler for sure right now, and also we'd be playing 4 sorry, yeah. Never mind. I thought you were only playing 2 Undead Augur, but you know the truth. If we can just draw a Cryptic Command, I think we win. I don't think they can beat the Cryptic Loop. I guess we would maybe need to draw. We need to draw 2 to loop infinitely, or have Jace going. So maybe that's not true. There's Cryptic Command though. Very cool. I like the 4. You also getting to play 4 Deafening Silence on the sideboard is a big deal. I know that you like Spark Harvest. I still main deck Mana Tithe. I guess this is probably the person in my chat talking about playing Boggles with main deck Mana Tithe. So we have to draw the second Cryptic. I guess we could just draw blockers, because they don't have trample or anything. Not yet, at least. Yeah, we need to draw Stoneforge Mystic off of this charm. So I guess, yeah, let's just do it now. Game 2. Well, we don't have a good Boggles matchup. Boggles is definitely still a deck with a fail rate, but not a very high fail rate, of course. Probably sideboarding like this. You played a fun of Cosm and Team of Giants in the challenge and drew hella cards. Yeah, maybe it's good. It's kind of hard to untap with, I think. I don't hate when playing a copy. Yeah, I just need Shadow Spear for the tech. I mean, I haven't played against Boggles in forever. It's not like I'm going to put a Shadow Spear in my deck just in case I get paired against Boggles. It's like not that good otherwise. No, I'm probably going to play a League after this, although I may need to eat something before I do. I'm going to keep this. If you can get a sort of Feasted Famine on a Batterskull, you can maybe win some games. Would I stream Legacy at any point? Yeah, I have. I do sometimes. Not super often, though. Boggles probably has a really good Tibalt matchup, though. Although they can just play more Supreme Verdicts. Teague. Not too scared of Gaddock Teague. We have Path for it, but it's not even sure how worried I am about Gaddock Teague. A little worried about this. Can't really stop it though. I kind of want to path my own Stoneforge Mystic. Probably a bit better to path the Teague though. Opponent's going to play around Tails End. Tails End counters Gaddock Teague. Oh, they're going to path my something. I'm assuming. Is this maybe Mana Tithe from my path? Just see what it is, I guess. The powerful Prairie Stream. I don't think I'm blocking with the Stoneforge. I'll attack. At least I hope I'm not blocking. I think I'll just hold up Remand / Shark. Not that either are very likely to do much, I guess. Okay, Gladecover Scout, not too bad. Okay, make a Shark. So if I draw a land, I could just... if I draw land plus Force of Negation, I guess I'll definitely equip, but... what we can do here is attack and then Aether Gust the Rancor in combat. I 3-2'd my first two leagues. I 3-2'd a league yesterday with Abzan, and then I 3-2'd the first league today, then I went 1-3 drop. I do feel like I got a little unlucky in some of my games, but, you know. The metagame is really weird right now. It's kind of hard to like really make any definitive statements about anything. Won a game against Boggles. That does feel like an accomplishment. I don't think I'm bringing in Tails End on the draw for Gaddock Teague, though. This is an interesting hand. Force of Negation and Aether Gust are some of our better cards in the matchup. I'm going to mulligan, though. I really want to turn 2 Stoneforge. This hand does not have a turn 2 Stoneforge, but I may keep anyways. Maybe just put back Path. Sort of Feast and Famine on Shark is not, like, that bad. Probably keep 6. Maybe a 5-card hand with Stoneforge Mystic is better. We just, like, don't really have good hands against them. Okay, we can Aether Gust that Rancor. He'll be in great shape. Yeah, if they just had Rancor here, we'd be blowing them out. If we draw exactly Teferi Time Raveler, we can bounce the Griff Spoon and then the Daybreak Coronet comes off. But alas, it was not meant to be. We do have one more look at a way to bounce the boon, I guess. But then the damage might just be done. I'll guess this. You can also Cryptic. Well, the problem with... Yeah, yes, we can draw Cryptic, but without 2 Cryptic commands, assembling the loop is going to be difficult. Okay. This was on my wish list. I mean, we're still dead to like a lot of things this next turn, but this gives me some hope. Is Boggles any good? It's probably fine, yeah. Alright, this can put us to 1. And they choose to put me to 1. Did not draw Shark Typhoon. Bummer. Yeah, sometimes you get boggled, right? Don't they have Rancor in hand? No, they bottomed it with the Gust. I'm gonna keep this, I guess, in the blind, but I'm not sure about this. Skipped breakfast, so I'm ordering some food. Overgrown Tomb taps. And they mulled to 5, so this could be like the Jund Cascade deck. Bit too slow. Probably just this Teferi on the draw. We're getting violently outbursted. Well, they're not the Cascade deck, I guess. I did have a Scalding Tarn in my hand. What does this mean? Why did that just happen? Does anybody know why they just surgicaled my Tarn on the mull to 5? Game 1. And they cling to us their surgical. Dude, Modern's so weird right now. I just can't even comprehend anything that happens. Just like I just have no idea what's going on all day. This looks like just Jund that's playing Surgical Extraction in the main deck for some reason. I also fetched a basic forest here, which is a bit weird. If they have a decay, they have a decay, but I still think I like plussing. Are they trying to prevent an Uro escape randomly? I mean, wouldn't they want to just surgical the Uro? I don't know. Like I think my opponent... I don't know what's happening. I cannot tell you why my opponent's doing the things they're doing. And now there's a Watery Grave. Now there's just a Watery Grave. And the Snapcaster. Did anybody have Snapcaster and a Thoughtseize on their bingo card for this game? Did anybody have Snapcaster into Thoughtseize on their bingo card for this game? I think I'm not going to Sanctuary the Cryptic now because I just want to play the Stoneforge. I had opponent losing horribly. Yeah, wait for a second. It's probably going to get checked off. Four-color Shadow. I think that trying to understand what's happening is probably a mistake. Opponent also should not have targeted this Cryptic Command. I get to fizzle the draw for 0 mana. Hey Emma. You have Snap Thoughtseize on your bingo card? Yeah, cool. But do you have a bingo now? Well, this has been. They also don't attack with Snapcaster. They concede. Okay. Well, the deck in 25th place. That's not loading. I don't know why it's getting stuck for me, like 19th place. Alright, I don't need this. This is fine. I'll figure it out. Blue John runs Croxa over Uro. I mean, Blue John's not a thing, probably. I'll keep this. I'll take a look at the list. One mana league, or 2 mana league. One Kolaghan's Command. But why the main deck Surgicals? That's not here. Alright, my opponent looked at this list and said, you know what? This list is pretty good. I'm going to main deck some Surgicals, though. Took the Stoneforge Mystic, which is fine. Yeah, Bloodbraid plus Leak in the same deck is also a little sus. Yeah, I remember when Surgicals were a $40 card. The player I'm facing is the same one that created the list. Very interesting. Didn't notice that. They shocked in that breeding pool for like seemingly no reason. Is Frantic Inventory a consideration? I think you don't ever play Frantic Inventory in a Stoneforge Mystic deck, but you can maybe play it in some other shells. Not going to force this. Land. Land. How important is the YouTube channel to your success? Is it better for people from YouTube to come watch live on Twitch? It's better for people to watch however they want to watch. But I was doing fine before YouTube, but the YouTube has been really nice. But I don't think anybody should change the way they want to watch the stream for my personal benefit, you know? Just watch how you want to watch. But I appreciate the thought. Ashiok has entered the chat. Don't think I'm gonna shock to hold up path, because we just have this basic planes hanging out anyways. Rude Crew, you can exclamation point deck and then find the list. The mana base in their deck seems pretty sketchy. They're aggressively milling me. I wonder what Fran thinks about that. Third Archmage's Charm. Yeah, if we draw a Shark Typhoon, we'll be able to deal with the Ashiok, I think. We have 3 charms up. I'm feeling okay. I'm not going to counter the Surgical Extraction. That's in their deck for some reason post-board. Definitely a different playstyle than mine. They might just mill me out. We'll see. I have 29 cards left in my library. Kind of feel like we're just doing all right. There's the Shark. There's also Celestial Purge. We can Purge the Ashiok and then Charm if we want to, but if they don't play a threat, I'll just Shark. Yeah, I know they're not going to mill me out. I don't know, we might just see Glimpse the Unthinkable, something weird like that. They got my Batterskull. In before Archive Trap. Archive Trap and Ashiok's kind of a nombo. I guess Mill does play those two cards. Do you have any fetchables left? Yeah, I got plenty. I guess I should have got Prairie Stream, but whatever. I think this is fine, because if they name Sword of Feast and Famine, we bounce with Teferi. If they name Teferi, we don't care. They do name Teferi. I'll draw 2 cards. Could steal the Needle. Guess I was supposed to draw 2 first, but I mean, I'm definitely equipping. Get to discard their last card and have a wall of counterspells up and a lethal threat in the air. Feeling a little ahead in the spot. Their last card was Mana Leak. Ashiok doesn't interact with field on the... Yeah, I mean, that is true, but... It like still stops them from fetching, which turns off your traps. Opponent still not utilized. Oh, there's the GG. Yeah, I feel like the Surgicals being main deck, it's an interesting call. Like if you can get a Valky in the graveyard and then Surgical it, it's not the worst exchange for you. Mulliganing this hand. There's a person in my sideboard that runs 4 archive traps in the sideboard to burn because you gotta live the dream. I had a guy like that at my LGS back when I, went to LGSs. I guess I'm putting back Force on the mulligan. Could regret that. There's a guy at my LGS who played 4 Thunderous Wrath in his burn deck, and I had a lot of turn 2 Tassigers die to turn 2 Thunderous Wrath. I might just get Basic Island here, because I have the Prairie Stream now. Spirits. Spirits is maybe a tough matchup, although Stoneforge is probably a good card. So probably straight blue-white, of course, if they're playing the Pathways. Really nice that they had Sailor and not Wanderer as well. And Shark Typhoon is pretty good in this matchup, and my memory is correct. Hopefully they just have like Batterskull Captain that we can remand. I mean, I'm certainly in the remand anything area of this game. We hit for 3. We draw a Hallowed Fountain. Fountain, not a very good draw there. Or a series of draws. They could be Bants, seeing Waterlog Grove. I think it's not very likely to play this pathway in your Bant deck, but maybe it's possible. I think we're just gonna need to draw a million Shark Typhoons. Although Captain beats that. They can counter my remand by sacking this Wanderer, which is an exchange I'll take. It's gonna fetch now. They hit me for 5, down to 9. They've got 1 card left in their hand. So it's definitely a Spell Queller, right? Bant Spirit's pretty good against the Tybalt's Trickery deck. Less good against the Valky deck, I think. Also stinks to not draw a path this game. We do get to go up to 7 1-mana removal spells post-board, which is kind of nice. Maybe my opponent will sack Selfless Spirit and only take 5. Oh, they sack the other Selfless Spirit, of course. Right, dead. They can counter the Cryptic with the Wanderer. Gonna bring in the Onthan Ices. I kind of don't hate 1 or 2 needles. You can name Aether Vial, Mausoleum Wanderer, Selfless Spirit. Not that I mean, naming Vial is good, but not the other ones is not that important. But probably worth playing a couple copies of. Yeah, I played 2 Force, 3 Remand. Kind of scared of Teferi, Time Raveler, 2 Needle. Yeah, Spirits I think isn't it. I am curious what the Valky matchup is like, but there has definitely been an uptick of Spirits. I kind of miss the days when Spirits was just a good meta deck, when it was just one of the better decks in Modern. I really liked playing with it and thought it was fun to play against. What happened? What actually was the one that donated? I now recognize the username for the Spirits we played last week. Well, good. This is what I get for tweeting out main deck Pithing Needle and then not yielding till end of turn. But my opponent, out of the kindness of their heart, named Shark Typhoon. I guess no longer when you have a fetch land, yield until your opponent's end of turn. No longer that's the line you should take. It's bad day for lazy people like me. The Batterskull with Sword of Fire and Ice should be pretty good here. Yeah, not in this new Pithing Needle metagame. Cavern of Souls. They decide to name Spirit. And the Spirit they have to play is Dragskull Captain. So, yeah, Batterskull plus Sword gets to kill one of their spirits here, which is incredibly good for us. Looks like it's just killing the Selfless Spirit, but should be still a good exchange. It is really bad for us if they have a second copy of Dragskull Captain, but not unbeatable. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you don't gain life, but you still get to killing. This is, I still think, good, right? We're the aggressor now, which is huge when you can turn the path. You like Pathing Captain? I don't. I really don't like Pathing Captain here. I like just making them chump with the Selfless Spirit. If they just play a second Captain, they can't block my Germ Token starting next turn, and they're on a very quick clock when we have Cryptic tap up. No, I don't like Pathing Captain. Path is, just also a really premium card. When you can just make them chump block and keep your Path, it's really nice. And if they're just tapping out for Dragskull Captain next turn to get the double hexproof, I don't even think it's that bad. If they have Skyclave, I mean, Skyclave's also not that bad because it can only get the Sword of Fire and Ice. I also this is gonna happen at some point anyways. Which this is also not this happening is not better. It wouldn't have been better to path the Captain with this timeline, right? I'm gonna path it now. Has 3 cards left in their hand. I'll bite. They didn't tap their Cavern, but I think that probably means that they have a Queller, but I think I'm just kind of okay if they have Queller here. You'd have at least got one contact with sword. I think a contact with sword or killing the Selfless Spirit is like effectively the same thing. It's like it's like maybe a little bit worse, but it's like pretty nice to get to make them chump block. Resubmit. I do think this is a bad matchup, but we were able to steal game 2. Can we steal game 3? I think not with this hand. Don't like this hand very much either, but I think I'll keep on 6. Turn 1 Vial. Don't have a needle for that right now. That's a great draw. I think we probably just need that every game. Turn 2 Mystic. We can have a Stoneforge activation plus Path next turn. It is also notable that we have 3 boarded and 3 Onthanize, but we've just drawn all of our dual lands without drawing a fetch land. So drawing Onthanize could be awkward if we don't draw a basic first. Alright, not so bad. Maybe not so good either. I think I'm pathing a Supreme Phantom right now. I'm passing with the activation up. They only have 1 card left in their hand, so if they have like 2-3 drops after they take their draw step, it's pretty tough for us. If they have a land or, you know, like 2 lands, obviously, we're in great shape. They thought about that attack for a second. Or maybe that was just some lag, I can't really tell. Love to draw a land and maybe just play Shark Typhoon for 2 to block the Spirit. I don't really want to jam Teferi into a potential Spell Queller. They also don't have Caverns, so these remands are alive. We'd also Sanctuary back this Path, which is probably something I'll do. Did I try any Bant Ephemerate in the Valkyrie meta? I haven't. Like, the card Skyclave Apparition is just, like, much worse than it's been. Like, Ice Fang and Wall of Omens are also not great at the moment, I think. Interesting. Thankfully, no needle naming shark
your friend,
this
Aspiring
time.
Spike.
Shikabo 413, thank you for your tier 1. Hope you're having a good day today, buddy. I think I'm just attacking here with both my shark and my germ. This is an interesting block. So they can Moorland Haunt here. When they go for Moorland Haunt, I'm going to path their Supreme Phantom. So they can't Rattle Chains me. They can Spell Queller, but I can path the Queller.
Welcome, Spikelings, to the Shark
Plasma
Typhoon.
007, thank you for your 2 months in a row. Love to see that second month. Also, my food is here. So I will no longer be a hangry streamer, just a very grateful and happy one. You like Hangry Spike? I do too. I have fun, but I don't know. I could probably cool it a bit. Okay. Yeah, I think go-wide strategies can just sometimes win. Like, I saw Doomwake lose to Elves last night, or maybe didn't lose, but like Elves was just putting up a good fight against a resolved Valky. Yeah, Humans just has so many cards that are good against the card. Alright. On the draw with Burn against his hand is a little scary. Yeah, Chick-fil-A is not my favorite chicken place, but it's just like really close. And it's like a little bit cleaner to eat on stream, you know what I mean? So it's kind of just my go-to quick. I need to order food because I forgot to eat breakfast. Meal. But certainly not my preferred place. I like Cane's a lot. Popeyes is decent. I also like Super Chicks, but the one that was close by me closed down, sadly. Force of Negation is like the only draw that gives us a chance. Although, it's still not clear how we're sequencing this. Maybe just Shark Typhoon and Chump. Kinda don't hate that.
What's up? It's me, your friend Aspiring Spike.
9 ball, 13 months in arrear. Thank you, buddy. That's a long time. Hope you're having a good day today. In that match, should I have named Stoneforge with Needle instead of Typhoon? Probably, yeah. I mean, I had Typhoon in my hand too, but I think turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic is... I kind of feels like that's what the matchup is about, you know? Not so much Typhoon, but I mean, Typhoon is good, I think. It's kind of close. Americans never cook. Well, this is not a cooking stream, but I do cook. I really only... Like, this is basically the only time I eat fast food is when I need a quick meal during the stream. But I'm not going to get up and go cook something. We have a Path to Exile on top. I'm going to Boros Charm me in my upkeep. Guess we have to force this. Can't crack the fetch, but... I mean, our opponent just has to have all lands in hand, or we lose, so not very likely, right? Good beats. Going to game 2. Dude, we could Nyx a Rift Bolt. I kind of want to bring in Nyx just on the chance that happens. It's probably not very good though, but that would be pretty legendary. Guess we need to cut some of these. Maybe the first Remand, third Teferi. I like to trim a Shark and a Jace usually. Dude, Nyxing a Rift Bolt would be awesome. We do have Arby's in Texas. I used to really like Arby's, but I feel like the quality of ingredients and the quality of service has gone down, at least in my area, so I don't really eat there anymore. Kind of like Subway. Like, Subway's quality of ingredients has gone down so much. I don't understand. Whataburger's pretty good, but... I mean, here in Texas, everybody worships Whataburger, and I think it's fine, but... I mean, I don't really eat that much fast food anymore. Awesome, Vega. Jund is a fun deck. I hope that you get it done soon. It's always exciting. Am I going to cycle Typhoon for 0 here? I think I will. Or maybe save it to pitch to Force. Yeah, I like the Abzan deck too. I'll probably play some more of it. I might play some Esper tomorrow. If I can figure out a good list. I've got some ideas. Not very excited to see Eidolon. See what we find here. Maybe my hand was bad to keep. I think I'm going to steal this turn. Not sure what your LGS is, Spike. I don't have one. I had an LGS in like 2016, and then that one closed down, and then I haven't really had one since then. But it's sad to hear that a good one in the area is closing down. I've been to a lot of them, but I just don't have a... I haven't had a home store in a long time. I guess we're stealing this. Excuse me. Bit worried about lightning bolts to kill my... I guess lightning bolts killing my guide either way, but just triggering prowess would be tough. Awesome, they don't have it. Skewer targeting me. Definitely feel like we're in tough shape. I think I'm going to bounce the Eidolon with Teferi this turn, which is not the best exchange for us, but next turn we can go Gust plus Archmage's Charm. Or now play the Stoneforge Mystic. Why would they not attack? Goblin Guide has good blocks on both of their creatures because they just don't have Lightning Bolt. Well, I guess they could have played Skewer. No, we stole it in the beginning of combat step. So there wasn't like a good window for them to Skewer. So they only have 2 lands. We may be able to finagle our way out of this. Is it actually better to get Sword of Fire and Ice here? It might be. Because then we can kill the Eidolon for no damage. Yeah, I'm going to get the Batterskull. Yeah, I think it's not good too, but it's probably worth considering. Sorry, forgot to unmute because I'm sure. Oh, they just conceded. Feels like a super aggressive concession. Super early one. I think I'm going to keep this configuration. I might keep this hand. Stoneforge Mystic with Force of Negation and a Path to Exile is exactly what you want, especially on 7 cards. We're on the draw. I'm going to keep, I think. Yeah, I think the upside of this hand is enough to keep. Although it can obviously go poorly for us. Like, this is also not like the best land to have, but immediately drawing a land, I feel content with the keep. Yeah, Goblin Guide will find us lands. Thank you, Goblin Guide. Triple 1-drop on the play is maybe just not going to be enough. Maybe just not going to be beatable, though. We didn't find an untapped land either. Maybe we can go Path and just steal a Swift Spear next turn. Not much to do here. Six plus 3, 9. Might force this. I think this is fine. It's just so bad if we don't force there. Oh, we draw Batterskull. It's so bad if we don't force there and our opponent like starts casting all the burn spells on my turn. Kind of feel like we just need to Celestial Purge this turn. It's kind of close. Has 2 cards in their hand. Yeah, I think it's better to Purge here than to YOLO Stoneforge Mystic. Maybe YOLOing is better. Them not cracking Summit Canyon, I think basically 100% means they have 2 spells in their hand. Which is probably not going to be beatable. Any combination of 2 spells, but we'll try. Yeah, we're dead. Tough stuff. They had a good hand. They had a pretty shaky one on the draw against Burn. How much Tibble have we seen today? I think we've only played against it twice out of like 14 matches. None with this deck yet, but I'm going to play it.